Greetings from Cybertron. This is SoundJack here with another episode of SoundJack's Rambles. And today I'm joined by Eric.
Hello.
Miguel.
Yo.
And Zeus _ Zeus.
Me.
Yes, it be him. And today we are here talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Woohoo!
That's fun. Last time I was on here, it was to talk about a Marvel movie. This time, I'm on here to talk about another Marvel movie. Isn't that fun continuity?
Oh yes, fun continuity.
What Marvel movie was it?
Speaking of continuity,
I was on for the Infinity War episode.
Oh, I see.
Speaking of continuity, since I don't have a couple of you on here too often. Well, most of you on here too often, but normally we'll be like, how did we get introduced to this? Well, it's a new project, so we saw the commercial, blah, blah, blah. I just want to very briefly go over how much you all know about Spider-Man and the different incarnations before we get into this. So we're like, how much like you had a general idea of what was going on before we get into talking about the film itself. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah. Like, what is our prior exposure?
Yeah, prior exposure to Spider-Man.
Question, can I go first? Because I have to go eat soon.
Sure, yes.
All right, great. My experience with Spider-Man is I've seen all the movies, and I've read a couple comics. That's about it. Okay. I have like a Marvel Legends figure of Spider-Man, but he's not like my favorite superhero or anything. He's good, not my favorite.
Okay, sounds good. Eric?
Almost everything. I knew of all the characters that appeared in the movie. I knew almost all the suits that even appeared in the movie. Spider-Man's always been like one of my favorites. He's not my favorite. My favorite is Ben Reilly, who sadly is not in this movie, but I feel like there was an homage to him. But yeah, I know almost.
We'll talk about that in the spoiler section.
Okay, well, yeah, it's not an outright spoiler. There's just there's a slight homage, but yeah, I did overall know. I know almost every Spider character. I know everyone in this movie, but in general, I know most of the Spider characters just in general. So,
okay,
a lot.
I actually got more time than I thought. My dad just wanted to know something about what we were eating.
Nice. Miguel, what's your experience with the Spiders peoples?
My first introduction to Spider-Man was the 90s cartoon that was like, at that point I think was done, but it was like on syndication on Fox Kids, which later on, when going back into like actually reading some of the earlier comics, I then discovered it's like, oh, a lot of the 90s Spider-Man cartoon is basically they took the comics and just kind of animated them. Like they replicated a lot, or at least where they could. I have some familiarity with a lot of the characters that showed up, not so much the suits, so I'm sort of in the mid-ground between Eric and Zeus. I definitely... and then the other thing is I had kept up enough with, like, when the Spider-Verse comic book event was happening a couple years ago to get what the angle was when they were going into this movie, and also with Miles specifically, I know a lot about Miles's like origins and just how his story has progressed. So that is where like this movie kind of ties those two together. So I went in with a lot of. I wasn't completely lost going in.
Okay.
Oh, actually, sorry, I have another question. Does playing the Lego games count as experience with the Spider-Man character?
I mean, it includes the various other Spider-Men.
Yeah, I've played some of the Lego games that have Spider-Man in them, and they have a few different Spider-Men. And I also knew about the other Spider-Men because sometimes I get bored and look at the wiki.
Yeah.
And I have a friend who's real into Spider-Man, so
thanks.
I knew a good amount about this going in, but I don't read a ton of comics in general.
Okay, that's fair. For me, I haven't read a Spider-Man comic ever. I have seen the movies. I did not see it was the 2014 one that was the sequel to the Amazing Spider-Man?
Yeah, that was the worst Spider-Man. Or
I don't
second
think
worst,
it's actually the
depending
worst.
on
But
how you...
I agree with Eric.
I just never saw it.
That's why I said worst or second worst, because I don't know. Some people will say it's that one. Some people will say Spider-Man 3. Me, I have a nostalgic attachment to Spider-Man 3.
Oh, so do I, but it's definitely the worst if you're talking about actual quality of movie.
I don't know. That scene where Peter Parker walks around New York dancing was pretty great.
I'm just gonna. Yeah.
So I've seen all
I'm
the
gonna leave that where it
movies
is.
except for what was that one even called? The
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Was that just it?
It was just Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yep.
Oh, fun. I just had some.
But it should have been called Subpar Spider-Man 2. Am I right?
You're terrible.
For just being a nerd and hanging out with nerdy people, I've just ended up accumulating some like general Spider-Man knowledge. Like I ended up hearing about Spider-Ham being a thing and knowing a bit about him, general stuff like that. The only exception is I did own and play the Xbox 360 game Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions.
Ooh.
For the record, Spider-Ham is best Spider-Man, and that's
at the
the
very
first
least
one
that's where I knew about Spider-Man Noir. And if I'm right, that's where Spider-Man Noir came from. Or am I wrong about that?
I don't know about. I don't think he was from that first.
He was from a comic.
Wait, hold on. It was a character. It was another character in the game that was original to the game. Pretty sure. I think Scorpion was an original character for that game.
No, Scorpion's been around.
No. Scorpion's been around a lot longer than that.
Oh, okay. You know what? I just remembered another thing. I had when I was a kid, I had one of those books where there were a bunch of buttons on the side and they would make noises, and it was a Spider-Man book.
Okay.
That's my first experience with Spider-Man. Fun fact.
But yeah. Anywho, so like I am aware of there are various Spider-Mens.
Spider people.
I just checked, and Spider-Man Noir did come out in a comic the year before Shattered Dimensions.
So it wasn't too long before.
No, that is like one of his first major appearances, but he did come out before that.
How close would the development have had to have been if the comic came out a year before?
Well, I mean, it totally could have been developed.
Oh, great. Well, they had to.
Could have been developed for the comic or for the game, and then they just took the thing and put it in the comic.
Depends how long the game was being developed, though.
Yeah,
that too.
So maybe the Spider-Man Noir character was made first for the game, but was released first in the comic.
It's possible, although it is over a year, just about a year. So I don't know.
So that's interesting. But anywho, let's actually talk about the movie. And very briefly before we get into spoiler territory, because this is a very fresh movie. If you haven't seen SoundJack's Rambles yet, we will go into heavy spoiler territory. But very briefly, do you guys recommend going to see this movie?
Yes.
Could not more.
Literally,
you need to see this movie more than anything else.
I've seen it twice. Before I saw it, I was telling people all, go see Bumblebee. Go see the Bumblebee movie. It's really good. But I saw this now, and I'm thinking, okay, Bumblebee can wait. Go see Spider-Verse.
Okay.
Bumblebee needs the money, though.
Yeah, Bumblebee needs the money so we get a better universe.
True. Well, so does this one, though, because I looked it up, and they only made about $63 million on their opening weekend off of I think it cost $90 million to make, or maybe it was $600.
I thought they already broke a record for December releases.
Well, yeah, but they put a lot of money into it. I looked this up the other day.
But anywho, strong recommendations all across the board, including for me. It is a great, amazing, wonderful film.
It is my favorite Spider-Man movie.
It's the best Marvel movie.
Oh yeah,
definitively.
Oh, yeah. It's a grand old time. It's not even part of the cinematic universe. But
it's made worldwide. It's made $65 million up to this date, and that's coming off of a budget of $90 million. So it hasn't even broken even yet.
Budget for sure.
I mean,
but it still hasn't. Most movies.
It's not a fantastic opening weekend, but it's good.
Yeah. But with a lot of Marvel movies, though, they tend to at least break even, if not exceed that. is the thing.
Well, the thing going for this movie partly is the fact that it's an animated movie, so people will probably take a lot of kids to go see it, and then kids will be off within the next couple of weeks, at least for some days in the next little while. So I would hope.
Not all the kids are off of school yet.
It should at least, they should all be off by next
holiday
week.
season.
The problem is Aquaman's destroying it.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's the real problem, yeah. Which is a shame, because I haven't seen Aquaman yet, but I can tell you Spider-Verse is more deserving of your money.
Much more.
I'm very excited for Aquaman, so it's not a diss on Aquaman.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I just turned and pulled my headphones off my face.
Good job.
Thanks.
So,
should we do like a non? Are we gonna?
If you don't want to get spoiled, if you haven't seen it and you don't want to get spoiled, stop watching right now or stop listening right now. Go see this movie. Go do it, and then come back here and listen to us talk about all the spoiler stuff. Okay? Yeah. Okay, we're good. All right, spoiler time. Where do you want to start?
I want to start with the animation. The animation was amazing.
Yes, it was, especially all the many different styles they did.
Yeah, everything looked great. It's honestly, I think it's the best animated movie I've seen in years. Best looking, especially.
I think it's the best looking I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, Pixar is like revolutionary, and for a while that was like the dominant style, and that all looked good enough. But this looks like way better than anything Pixar's put out. It's impressive.
But now,
before this, to me, the best looking animated movie was like Treasure Planet, and that's more on like a technical level because I've seen a lot about that movie. I really love that movie. I've watched a few videos about how it's put together. That seamlessly uses a combination of traditional animation, CG animation for like Long John Silver's cyborg parts, and this technique that's called, I think, like deep canvas. So there's a lot that goes into it, and it all works really well together. But this just like blew it out of the water for me.
And what's interesting though with Treasure Planet is that's one of the reasons why it did so poorly is because deep canvas is so expensive to use.
Hold on, did we both watch?
We watched the same video.
We both watched the breadsword video. Oh my god!
Link me the video after we're done here.
Yeah, it's a good video. And then I think there's a follow-up that goes into the sequel that was aborted.
There was aborted sequel. Yeah.
The thing that to jump off of that is that for this movie was just something that it was a headline that was going around and kind of being misattributed. The animators on this movie went so far as to develop their own animation program to execute the movie. And then they were going to get it, they were trying to patent it so they can continue to use it. That got misconstrued where people were saying, oh, Sony was trying to patent the animation techniques used.
Oh.
And that was the article that was getting people in a tizzy. And then it was like, no, the animators just want to keep using the program that they developed in order to continue making movies in this, or at least try to make similar movies just with some of the techniques that they developed for it. Yeah. So that's one thing where even just on both the animation, it's like the technical side, but also just the art direction itself, it was one of those things where this movie was just so beautiful to look at and very much like wasn't ashamed of the source material. And that's one thing where I feel like a lot of times even like the MCU, they're only just starting, or at least they've been at it a few years of really breaking away from the thing of like, you know what, we're from comics, but we can make them like realistic and cool and stuff. And it's like, no.
Yeah, we're finally starting to break out of like the Dark Knight territory of comic book movies. Is basically like the way I've had it explained, or I've explained it.
Eric, mute. You're muted.
No, that's totally not fair. That's inaccurate. I mean, Miguel, yours is accurate. I'm saying Dark Knight territory. That's too far.
No, I mean in terms of like the way the movie is made, it's easier to say the Dark Knight one because more people.
That's way too extreme of an example, I think.
That's the whatever. Fine, the X-Men territory. Is that better? You happy now?
I think what Miguel said is more accurate though.
I'm
not sure.
I'm not sure what Zeus is trying to say. That's the one thing. I'm not like Zeus. Could you clarify what you're trying to?
Because The Dark Knight is very much like, okay, we're a movie based off of a comic book, but we don't need to make it like a comic book. We can make something that people could believably exists in the real world.
I think I feel like a lot of the Marvel movies and then even the DC one. Well, DC kind of walked in a little bit past that, where like you could actually translate a suit pretty much the way it was from a comic. They just have a bunch of other issues. Marvel, I think they were starting to move away from that. Like I can think of after Avengers happened is when they could be like, all right, we can kind of go kind of more comic booky with our storylines. We're still just going to leave the costumes to try to be like real world interpretations. Where now we're starting to like move away, like with lo and behold, Spider-Man being a good example of it's just like, yeah, that's pretty much the suit. You have a little things that you've tweaked, but that's pretty much the suit. And then the fact that they got his emotive eyes in Civil War.
It very much, that one does look like the comic costume, except you can kind of see like a fabric pattern on it, and that's about it.
But then coming back to Into the Spider-Verse, the one thing is, you can just go full ham on the costumes and everything. You just like
speaking of ham, the designs, holding up my Spider-Ham figure again for people who aren't in this call.
Even then, the fact that since it's an animated film, the other thing you can do is that you can just lay in the amount of like characters that you can put in, like the fact, like just naming all the villains that's from Spider-Man's rogues gallery that appear even in the beginning. Like you have
Green Goblin.
You have Green Goblin, who's this big hybridization of a bunch of different, multiple versions of Green Goblin.
And also a little bit, I thought he kind of reminded me of Fin Fang Foom, just with the wings and the horns.
Maybe in the fact that he's big and green,
it was largely based off of Ultimate Green Goblin.
Yeah, I know.
It wasn't a total translation of it, but
even in Ultimate, he didn't have like the horns or the wings, and that's kind of where the Fin Fang Foom thing came in for me, was the horns and the wings, and the fact that he's a big green man dragon thing. Kind of. I'm not saying it was like an exact direct translation. I'm just saying I could kind of see elements of it in there. Like design-wise.
You have Prowler. You have Kingpin, who's amazing.
Doc Ock.
Oh yes, the brick maker.
Okay, question, because I don't know who's the silver dude.
Tombstone.
Tombstone.
Okay.
Yeah. I have seen his Marvel Legend figure like shelf forming at a Walgreens by me for years.
All I could think of was the guy from the X-Men, and I'm like, I know that's not him.
Wait, what guy from the X-Men?
Colossus.
Dude. Colossus.
The metal dude?
I wanted to say Cyclops, but I'm like, that's definitely
fun. Imagine if it's I want a recut where you take Tombstone and you put Colossus in there.
Absolutely.
But
like have him show up out of Deadpool. Like
have him be there, but he's just like incredibly uncomfortable and confused. He's like, why am I here?
Okay. But while we're talking about the villains, and Eric mentioned Doc Ock, Dr. Olivia Octavius. That is something that's completely new to me.
It's not completely new, but
that's my next question. Has there been a female Doc Ock?
Yes.
And was her name Olivia?
I don't know that one.
I think from what I've seen, the Doc Ock in the movie is pretty much their own
it's their own version, but there has been.
But it's paying homage to the fact that one Doc Ock classic Spider-Man villain, and the fact that there have been female versions before, which the universe that we're based in the movie is kind of like, I guess, as ultimate as you can get, where the old Spider-Man who shows up would basically be this film incarnation's equivalent of 616, the main timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the best I can figure for her inspiration would be Lady Octopus.
There's been others.
Which is Carolyn
Yeah,
Trainer. That was just the first result.
Yeah,
I got,
that's the original one, but there's been more recent ones that are more similar.
Was that from the storyline where Doc Ock became Spider-Man?
No, this is long before that. This was back in 1995.
Okay, I don't know when that was. I just remember that was a thing, and I thought that would have been like a good explanation for why Otto Octavius wasn't Doc Ock.
Superior Spider-Man was much more recent.
Okay, cool.
But anyway, I really like I really like Doc Ock. I did not expect that at all.
It was a good twist.
What's fun?
Because it was the professor, and then I'm like, oh wait, the professor is working for Kingpin, and I was like, huh, that's interesting. And then it's like, oh, she's Doc Ock. Oh.
What's also interesting is that we basically ended up getting like a variation on the Sinister Six, because I think there did end up being like a total of 6 villains in the movie. I think there's like
Tombstone,
there was
Doc Ock,
Tombstone,
Scorpion,
Doc Ock,
Kingpin,
Prowler. There was one. Wasn't there one more? I feel like there was
Goblin, but he
that's it, Goblin.
But he wasn't in the movie.
But they were all.
They never
were all employed by Kingpin, though. So
they were never all on screen at the same time.
Yeah, it doesn't count. They weren't all there once.
Fine. Okay,
but
fine.
Kingpin had hired all of them, and presumably they were all hired at the same time. So, like, I understand where Zeus is coming from, but yeah, Eric's also right.
Yeah, we didn't get them all at the same time, but we did sort of get a Sinister Six.
But question regarding Olivia that I realized after I watched it. So you remember how when she's introduced, she says, actually, my friends call me Liv. And then she crashes into Aunt May's house, and Aunt May says, oh, it's Liv. What kind of history do they have?
I can take that as more of a joke, or actually...
I don't think they know each other than she knows that she's Doc Ock. Because that is the Peter Parker of that universe is Aunt May, who was clearly quite familiar with the Spider-Man gig with the giant cave underneath and everything. So I don't think it's unreasonable to think that he was aware, because it didn't seem like she was super secret about her identity. Not that it wasn't like it was a surprise to us, but she casually revealed it. It wasn't like she was trying to keep that a secret, is what it seems like. So.
I want to go back to when Liv is introduced. One of the things that's really fun to see is that in that video, because I watched the movie twice, so I was paying attention to a lot of the background stuff. Mm-hmm. In that video that's playing in the classroom, when we first see him, when Miles walks in and is late for class, you can see her name clearly where it says Olivia, but Miles is blocking her last name. Oh, and she mentions... I forget if she says the Fisk Foundation or something about the Fisk, but she mentions
Wilson
Fisk's
it was an Alchemax. Maybe she did. I just remember seeing that it was an Alchemax video.
She mentions his name.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. I do vaguely remember hearing mention of his name.
When Miles and Peter try to infiltrate Alchemax, another thing is you can see there's the tentacles on her desk. So there's like disassembled ones that she's been tinkering with. So there's a lot of things preemptively that if you actually pay attention, you start noticing. It's like, oh, I remember going that, and I'm like, oh, okay. If I had been paying attention to the back, I'd been like, oh, they set it up that she's Doc Ock.
Yeah.
Hey, did anyone else notice the repeated use of the number 42? Like it was like one of the first things you see in the movie was just it's like 42. I think it was on the spider or something.
Yeah, there was.
And then, like when Peter fell off of the building and knocked over like the numbers on it, there was a 4 and a 2 next to him.
I did not notice that.
You didn't notice that? Okay.
I remember the 42 from the spider, and I definitely remember the 2 from the building knocking over. I never remember there was another number. So
yeah, it was a 4. I picked up on that. I thought that was something that they were like subtly hinting at. But I didn't know what they were trying to hint at, or maybe it was just like a Hitchhiker's reference.
So I was going to say, 42 is the answer to life, the universe, and everything.
I didn't know if it was just a Hitchhiker's reference, or if it was going to be something that they bring up in universe.
Or is an issue 42 of one of the Spider-Man series somehow significant? That's the other.
It's also a good point.
I don't
Usually.
think so. I think it was just a bigger Easter egg. It could be, but I can't think of a Spider-Man issue 42. Like, I'm thinking of all the big Spider-Man issues. I can't think of one. But one thing I do want to talk about is definitely the death.
I mean, the first thing I got was Volume 1, Issue 42, The Birth of a Superhero. That's like the first result I got.
I don't know. But the death...
Well, actually, that makes sense with overall... Sorry to cut you off again, Eric. But that would make sense since, like, if it... I don't know what the issue contains, but Birth of the Superhero, this is the birth of Miles Morales. It's the superhero Spider-Man. So.
I mean, it's the birth of Miles the Spider-Man, not his actual birth. That'd be weird.
Well, yeah. Right. Anywho, Eric, go ahead.
I think it was Doc Ock's first appearance, from what I'm getting. I think it might have been Doc Ock's first appearance.
No, this is more about...
Oh, no, wait, that's not...
This is about John Jameson, not J. Jonah Jameson, his son, John Jameson. Something about space spores.
Is that Panther, or... I forget his name. Someone who's just getting Marvel Legends now. But the thing I wanted to talk about was the Peter Parker dying. Yes. They did that very well. They did that perfectly.
They hit it very well. Because the way that the trailers kind of set it, or at least the trailers that I watched set it up, is that the movie would start with, like, Miles stumbling upon, however he does, on the super collider happening, and then the main Spider-Man that we see throughout most of the film showing up. There was never really any hint that there would be a resident Spider-Man in his home universe. But then, how quickly did you pick up on the fact that there were two different voice actors?
I didn't, actually.
Pretty quickly, actually. He did not sound... Because I remember thinking that, like, from the trailer, the Spider-Man that we ended up getting, Peter B. Parker, sounded like a little bit like, what's his name? T.J. Miller. Like, not a lot, but he just kind of, like,
no, you're
similar...
delusional.
Like, similar inflections.
No, you are
Miles' home Peter Parker...
Was Chris Pine.
Right.
Yeah.
Peter B. Parker was a separate voice actor.
Looking back, I totally hear the difference now, like in my head. But at the moment, no, I did not. I didn't realize that.
It was freaking me out because in the theater when I first watched it, my friend and I, we were sitting down and we were like, did they change in the moment we were like, did they change the voice actor?
No, but I was so happy that it happened because Marvel kind of has been erasing Miles' origin story, which originally was. It wasn't Peter Parker that old, though, which I'm okay with them changing. Because Peter Parker died as a kid in the alternate universe.
It was teenage Peter, and then Miles was actually a lot younger.
Yes.
So they've kind of aged Miles to where Peter was, and then aged Peter even more.
Yeah. Peter died, in high school.
What it is. It was just, like, kind of the general attitude reminded me of T.J. Miller in Deadpool, and that's where I got the connection from.
Was it...
that's a stretch. But
it's a stretch, but that's how my brain works. My brain just stretches things.
But yeah, that Peter Parker, I was very happy. I was okay with the fact they changed that, but they did because Marvel has been changing it to make it not part of Miles' origin anymore, and I really don't care for that because it's pretty integral. Like, Peter Parker's death is very, very important to Miles Morales' character. He's still his own character. It has nothing to do with Miles not being his own character, but that is a very integral thing to the story of Miles Morales.
Speaking of integral to the story, Prowler / his uncle.
That's the most Prowler has ever mattered, and I'm happy because I like Prowler a lot.
That's what I thought. I didn't think Prowler mattered too much outside of this.
He was his uncle before. They've never gone that route, though. Like, he has been Miles' uncle previously. That was already a thing.
Okay, well, when he was Miles' uncle, was he also Prowler, or was...
No, yes.
Like,
Prowler was Miles' uncle.
Yeah, the way that they set it up is the usual. Which, to Eric's point, Marvel, in a lot of the shenanigans they've done to move Miles from the Ultimate Universe, where he originally came from, into 616, they've kind of undid a lot of his origin, which his origin is, in part, his uncle as Prowler steals a formula that the formula that can give spider powers, and along with that, he actually ends up carrying with him a spider who bites Miles that gives him his spider powers, and then he ends up seeing a fight with Peter. Peter dies, and then he's just left with like, I could have helped him because I had spider powers, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because now that's one thing that I thought was interesting, that Peter was his person before, but now he has two people, because Peter is his person in this universe initially, but then Prowler's the Uncle Ben.
Right, and then that's the thing that I like, the fact they layered this sort of the multifaceted thing of, one, they gave him like, they, on top of basically Pete, like in the old comics, like just Spider-Man being his Uncle Ben, they actually layered in like, oh, here's your actual uncle being your Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah. Miles went through a lot of trauma in these couple of days.
Incredible, and like his those were probably the roughest 2 days anyone's ever experienced. Like, your superhero, like you idolized, died.
Maybe
right after he's like,
anything
I'm going to train you. He's literally like, I'm going to train you. You're going to be a superhero. Like, that's going to be the most amazing thing ever. And then he dies in front of your eyes.
And then you get the broken hobo Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Oh, but his Spider-Man...
Peter Parker.
Probably the last thing that we even need to talk about his Spider-Man, though, was what I mentioned earlier about the Ben Reilly reference.
Right, he was blonde.
But that was the thing, was that whenever I saw he was blonde, they hadn't mentioned that he was Peter Parker yet. They had not said the name Peter Parker, so whenever they took off the mask and he was blonde, it was just like, oh god, no. No.
Imagine if there's like, oh, Ben Reilly, and then...
I just,
no! Wild.
I would have died. So, Ben Reilly's still an option. Also, the other Scarlet Spider is suit, Kane, not Ben Reilly. The Kane Scarlet Spider suit is in the Hall of Suits.
Ooh.
Okay. Real important question I do have in regards to the film and its plot. The spider that bites Miles, where does it come from? And the main reason I asked this, because my assumption was it came from the labs that was also putting out the Universal Rift Breaker, whatever thingy. I forget what they called it.
Yeah.
The Super Collider.
Yeah, the Super Collider. Because Alchemax and they were working on that project. But it glitches out in the universe like the other spider people. So...
Wait, it glitch?
It glitched.
It glitches when Miles goes back. When Miles goes back to like, after Miles gets bit, the day happens, he goes back to where he threw up the graffiti.
Yeah.
And then he's gonna go to touch it, and he's like, oh, it's a normal spider, and then it glitches. And I think it's kind of like a jump scare.
Yeah. I think it also glitched when it first appeared, and like it was hanging down. We could see the Alchemax 42 on it, and then it glitched. So that would indicate it came from another universe?
It did it before the portal was ever opened, though.
Precisely.
So that could be...
So...
I mean, I could say that one explanation could be, like, they may have they could have tested the collider on, like, the spider, or the spider could have been involved with it. I think, in the end, it's really not too important where it came from. It's just like it helps move, but like... Yeah,
I do understand that. It is just a question I have in mind, and the only thing I'm going to say about it, since we do have... There is room for sequels in this story.
There isn't just room. There's absolutely going to be.
Yeah, precisely. And since this event already has brought people from not across different spaces, but different times, I'm wondering if there's going to be time travel shenanigans involved with Miles getting his spider powers.
Huh? I
doubt
it.
I mean, there's room for it.
It's possible, but I highly doubt that.
I think they have so much more potential that they really don't need to kind of like...
They don't need to bother with that.
They don't need to bother going back and being like, well, we're going to... This whole movie is going to, in part, explain why that... I almost said mouse. Was there. I almost said mouse. That spider was glitching.
Yeah, the next movie got bigger and better things, like starring Miguel in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine how you felt when
I'm-
that post credit scene, Miguel.
I a slight moment of confusion, and then being like, "All right, 2099, Miguel O'Hara. All right."
Oh, you
Yeah,
didn't
I
recognize
forgot.
that at first.
It's not so much I didn't recognize it. It's that whenever I hear Miguel spoken out loud, I have a moment of confusion because I'm like, "Why is someone addressing me?" Like that's not a thing of like, "Oh, I don't know what the person's talking about." It's like, "Why is my name being said?" And then I'm like, "Oh, wait."
Yeah, it's a film.
I feel you.
I did forget Spider-Man 2099's name was Miguel. But I admittedly towards the end of the film I was like, huh, Spider-Man 2099 would have been a good Spider-Man to have in here. I'm like, oh wait, there he is at the end credits.
So would have Scarlet Spider, but oh my god, that end credit scene was literally like the best thing ever. That was.
I think it ran a bit too long. I will say that.
I disagree. I think that's what made it even funnier.
Like, I think I liked the basically when 67 Spider-Man lifts his arm up and he's just like, "Who the heck are you?"
Yeah, that was.
That part I'm like, "Oh, that's great," but then it kind of went too long, and eventually I was just like, okay, can this stop?"
No,
The
I thought it was even funnier that it didn't end. I thought that made it even funnier by far. I just couldn't stop laughing.
So, speaking of Earth 67, I guess everyone was I remember people commenting about the scene where we got in the trailer shot of what we now know to be Peter B. Parker sitting behind the desk, being a reference to the Spider-Man image, and like, it's not a reference. And then into the trailer, in the end credits, there was just a blatant reference to that shot with the desks and the picture of Spider-Man behind.
Also, are you aware of the fact that they nearly cast Tobey Maguire as Peter B. Parker?
I did not.
Yes,
I
they
did.
They heavily considered him.
Or even, well, I mean, it's sort of laid in there, even like with the normal Peter's backstory, where there's heavy references to the Raimi film.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
Which I enjoyed. I was like, okay,
Except
that's neat,
like
'cause
much better done in terms
much
of
better
like,
done.
Yeah, in terms of the
I mean,
the specific shots.
How can you not do Spider-Man in front of a train trying to slow it down and not think of the Spider-Man movies?
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of it, even like him dancing in the street, whatever, that's all picked up from the.
But
Raimi film.
I'm specifically referencing the dumb scene in but also the Spider-Man 2, which everyone claims is the most perfect movie ever, and it's not, where Doc Ock throws a freaking car at Peter Parker.
Yep.
But it makes sense now, because in this universe, he's Spider-Man when that happens. Meanwhile, Doc Ock didn't even know Peter Parker was Spider-Man at the time. He was trying to get Peter Parker to tell him where Spider-Man was, which he decided to throw a car at him, which would have killed him had he not been Spider-Man. So,
Though the question now is, why was Spider-Man out to dinner in a Spider-Man suit with Mary Jane, was it?
Yeah,
it was Mary Jane. In all fairness, in this universe, he started up a Spider-Man restaurant. So,
yeah.
But
no. That was B's universe.
Oh, that is true, but they have almost everything.
They're closely related, and then there's a point where there's a sharp split.
I don't think that there's very much. I don't think there's a lot of merit to split a lot of hairs in that sequence, considering it's just like it's supposed to be fun.
Yeah, it's just a memory.
Yeah. I'm not complaining about it. I'm just like, if you think about it.
Yeah, if you think about it, you're just like, wait, how does that work?
Yeah.
I mean, it makes just as much sense as throwing a car at Peter Parker. Still.
That's true. I kind of want to double back with Miles a bit more, because I think one of the things that's really fun is one, just like how they sort of set him up as a character, especially early on. Like we see just in the beginning, like just his artistic side, which leads into the whole like him tagging that wall. The fun thing is that he's messing with the little sticker that he eventually slaps onto one of the signs. But when he's picking up all his stuff to get out because he has to go to school, behind it is a drawing of Leopardon, the big mech that the Japanese Spider-Man has from the live action show in the 60s.
Yep.
Which was like, oh, like there's the lay-in of Leopardon. I want that in a sequel. Like, just have him and the Japanese one show up. And then you can just, like, I liked the fact that, like, they showed a lot of his background, where they had, like him speaking Spanish or when he's walking around, because he's an Afro-Latino kid. The shot where he's just, like, before he gets, he's just like, I gotta get some rice before I leave. I'm just, like, me, personally, because I'm Puerto Rican, so it's one of those things where I was seeing stuff, I'm just like, it's my heritage here. Like, I love this.
Representation matters.
Oh, yeah. It's one of those things where at one point I'm like, oh, damn, like, this is my Spider-Man. Like,
yep.
I have now, like, the Puerto Rican, like, it's one of those things where I'm like, this is kind of neat. And then I can even think of how much more neat it is for a kid who's like, look, Spider-Man, then it's like, oh, wait, it's a kid who looks like me.
Miguel isn't he? The one that literally shares your name is also...
But he's also...
I think, I don't know, because O'Hara, I don't know.
He's not white.
What?
I know that.
But,
I'm
I don't
almost
know
certain.
what the last name throws me off.
Also, he's like a future kid in like
Well, he's not a
100
kid.
years.
Oh, he's not a kid.
Or
Wait,
at least
are we talking
kid.
about 2099?
Yeah.
Kid in quotation marks. Yeah, I'm aware he's like older. He's a lot older. I was turn a phrase. You know.
People are saying cast Oscar Isaac as him.
Well, that was who voiced him.
Oh, was it? Oh, I didn't even
Yeah.
realize that. That's what made it even more perfect. Okay, I remember someone saying that. Yeah. Someone
Okay,
said that his
Miguel
voice actor made it
O'Hara
even more...
is his name.
So what's the significance with that?
What?
With Oscar Isaac?
Because Oscar Isaac is good as him, apparently. Also, it's Oscar Isaac.
shares
Everyone
his
loves.
Doesn't he share ethnicity with him?
Oscar Isaac, I thought, was Jewish.
I thought he was... He's Guatemalan born.
I still think he's Jewish.
Yes, but that doesn't necessarily mean ethnicity. It can,
Mhm.
but it doesn't.
Mhm.
No, and then I just like going back to Miles, like his relationship with like his parents and everything, like that was nice to see. Like just the going, like a lot of the he was going through like issues that a kid would go through, in addition to having to save the world. Like it was one of those things where I think the narrative that they built was pretty good.
He's not Jewish, by the way.
Oh, I thought he was.
He's also Cuban. He's Guatemalan and Cuban, which is somewhere along the lines of Miguel O'Hara's ethnicity. Which, you know, maybe they just have weird names in 2099.
They probably do. Maybe his dad's Irish.
Maybe? I don't know, but...
We don't know his dad.
It's true.
Because I don't know anything about him.
But man, oh man, they did that well. And, yes.
They did the thing with the pointing. The pointing Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, we talked about that while you were
I know, but I'm very happy that they did that.
Miguel thought it went too long. I thought it was perfect. I thought they made it even funnier that it went on too long. I thought that was part of the joke.
I think it might have been.
I think it was intended to. I think just Miguel didn't find it funny because he doesn't have a soul.
Yeah.
Miguel, you've just been opening up a bunch of Marvel Legends right now. Which ones do you have?
Let's not talk
Cletus
about toys.
Cassidy.
Let's talk about the film.
This man doesn't have a soul.
That's very true.
He doesn't have a mind.
No, but Eric, did you not get the joke?
What? Oh.
There you go.
Now I get the joke.
Now he gets it, people. Yeah, he gets it.
I think the audience is going to be very confused.
Well,
right now.
I did say we were talking about Cletus Cassidy.
Oh, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, I said Cletus Cassidy.
Okay. Well, anywho.
Oh, but speaking of that, I really hope Venom is involved in the sequel. That's one thing I was like disappointed that I feel like they could have, not necessarily the character Venom, but like a Venom symbiote Spider-Man.
Put a Venom in the second one.
Yeah, easily could, and I think should. In fact, it could easily be Eddie Brock's Venom as well, too. In all honesty, I wouldn't put that past them, since Sony is proving that they made two things that people like.
Venomverse,
which
and
is
you get a
surprising.
bunch of different Venoms.
I would love Venomverse, but have you read that storyline?
I don't know that. I didn't know that it existed.
Oh
so
no, it existed. It was very gimmicky, but it's very. It is quite the dark story.
Hey, what if they literally just put Tom Hardy, Eddie Brock from the movie into Spider-Verse?
Like, even animate him? You mean like literally live action in the animated movie?
Well, they could do that too, but I meant like animate him, but make him look like Tom Hardy.
Oh no,
also
I would be surprised if they didn't do that. Honestly, by the second or third, because I am certain Spider-Verse will get at least one more movie, probably two, with how well it did.
No, but I mean, like, just instead of continuing with putting him in his own movies, just put him in there.
Well, Venom 2 is already in production, so too late.
Oh no.
Hey, you know who we haven't talked about yet? Gwen Stacy.
You mean Wanda?
Spider-Gwen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to bring her up because she was significant in the film, and we just haven't touched on her yet.
She was. I feel like she could use her own movie, because
give her own
her origin story is a little complex with the whole Peter Parker, which they like hint at and even like bring up, but they don't dive into. That would be very confusing for anyone who probably isn't familiar. Are you familiar with what happens with her and her Peter Parker?
All I know is he dies.
Her Peter Parker is the Lizard. And her Peter Parker becomes the Lizard because she is Spider-Woman, and he wants to try to help. Well, he wants to also be special and a superhero. And so he accidentally turns himself into the Lizard, and he dies from it.
I did not know that.
Yes. Peter Parker is her Uncle Ben. But more tragic because he's the villain. Not on purpose.
Then he's her Aaron Davis.
Stop. Sorry.
Sorry.
So there's, I forget what show it is, but I saw there was the first episode of this new Marvel show, and it has
Marvel Rising?
Ghost Spider, Squirrel Girl.
That's the Heroes Rising.
Marvel
I think. I can't remember.
Uprising.
Yeah, I watched that first episode, and I do remember the friend wanting to help, but he was an Inhuman already in that series, and then something happened with the Inhumans, and he got worse or something.
Yeah, that's not her original. Her original story.
That's not the original.
That's like just the adapted for TV.
Yeah. The original story is that Peter Parker turns himself into the Lizard, and then dies. Yeah.
Dies because of it.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, if we're going by that, he's more her Aaron Davis, just based off what goes on in the movie.
Yeah, that makes less sense to me. I don't know who Aaron Davis is.
That was the uncle, Prowler.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I forgot their last. Wait. Why is it Davis?
Because that was, I think, the dad's name. Because they're a progressive couple. They're a progressive couple, and he took his wife's last name.
Okay, it's the mother's. Okay, son takes the mother's name. Okay. Sorry.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was looking at the credits and then I realized Jefferson Davis. Oh, that's Miles' dad. I'm like, wait a minute, why isn't his last name Morales? And like, oh, Rio Morales. Oh, okay, there we go.
Yeah. So like Prowler's death, I feel it made me sad because I love Prowler. No one loves Prowler, but I love Prowler.
I think he's got a cool design. I just don't know anything about him beyond what I've seen in this movie.
But this is the most he's ever really mattered, and then he died, which made me sad because I'm like, man, he finally mattered, and he could have been more. But they did it so well that I'm not even mad. I'm just like, what could have been? Yeah, I'm sad, but like in a good way because they did it well. But still, it's just like, this character that never mattered, that I love, that finally mattered, died because he mattered.
Yep.
I know what it's like to be a superhero now.
I'm going to come out and say this.
You monster.
He was your Uncle Ben.
Basically.
I'm just gonna say this right now. Like, I knew that going in that Aaron Davis was like the Prowler, but I just kind of forgot about it, and so that twist still got me.
Oh, really? I knew it going in, and I was excited for it. Like, it was still well done. Oh, speaking of the Prowler, because he in particular sticks out, the score. The soundtrack's good, and the soundtrack, a lot of people are praising and stuff, and I really do like the soundtrack, but the score, screw the soundtrack. The score is so much better. The soundtrack's really awesome, don't get me wrong. And I understand why everyone's praising it. But the score
It's
is
a
so
very
underrated.
good score.
The score was so good. Especially the Prowler. Prowler is one of the best scorings for a character in a superhero movie ever. I can't think of one that beats it.
Every time he shows up, it's so good. Like that just
The howl, like oh, it's so well done.
But the problem I had upon my second viewing is I realized it sounds like the sound in Fortnite.
No, stop! You're gonna don't just be quiet. I don't know enough about
the
Fortnite.
Sound.
It's okay.
It's the sound. It sounds like the sound in Fortnite.
Miguel has been kicked from the call.
Who kicked him?
It was me. It was Zeus. I watched
Which
him click.
screen?
It was Zeus, not me.
It was Zeus.
It sounds the sound of Fortnite with map shrinks. That's all I was gonna say. And I kind of hate the fact that I made that connection. So I'm sharing it with all of you.
I hate that you made that connection too, but I also don't watch.
How
Fortnite
dare you
enough to know
ruin
that,
the movie watching experience to the 5 people that are going to watch this?
Maybe
this
this
doesn't get a lot of. My rambles don't get a lot of views.
Well, see, the problem, 3 of us are here, so that makes 2 now.
Ooh, you're right. So who 2 of you out there that I don't know that actually listen to my podcast? Comment in the comments. Let me know who you are.
I bet Mateo Potato is one of those people.
You know that, or you think that?
I bet. I don't know.
I agree. Mateo Potato, if you're listening,
Shout
comment down below now. I don't care what you say. Just comment anything.
Just text SoundJack right now.
Yeah.
Just comment fork knife. That's it.
Anywho. Yes.
Can we rank the Spider-Man and the villains?
Ooh, yeah. Let's do that. Eric, since you had the idea, I think you have a listing in mind. So you go first. You start with the heroes, with the Spider-Man.
Okay, so heroes. Miles. It's really hard between Miles and Peter B. Parker. I think everyone is going to say Miles, so I think I'm going to put Peter B. Parker first.
Okay.
Just to be a little different. Because they're basically the same in my mind, but if I had to pick one, I'll go with Peter B. Parker, if only for the nostalgia sense, in terms of, like, he had a lot of the shared moments from other Spider-Man movies that, I grew up with, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'll do that one. Then Miguel. But no, not Miguel.
Miles.
Miguel's later. Miguel counts. Miguel's in this movie, so
Miguel does count.
I'm also going to count.
He just doesn't do enough to probably warrant a high spot.
Miguel is valid.
I'll put. Let's put Spider-Ham third.
Yes,
Spider-Gwen fourth. Spider-Man Noir fifth, and then Penny Parker sixth. No, you know what? I'll put. It's nothing against Penny Parker, but she did almost nothing for me. She wasn't bad.
But also, there was the tragic bit where the robot died.
Yeah, that's like the only part. But see, the spider was okay. That's the thing. She got the spider. She clearly can build stuff. She can build another robot.
The suit
before he died.
Wait, did he build the suit? I thought she kind of like built the suit how it was.
Her dad built the suit before he died, and then the spider went in it.
Oh, clearly she can build another suit though. So.
Well, but there's the attachment.
No, that is fair. But but why would the spider be sad? She would be sad. The spider was crying. That doesn't make sense. I would put Peter Parker. It was a psychic spider, so they were connected.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'd put Peter Parker from Miles' universe, the blonde Peter Parker, actually before Penny Parker, Just because I really liked his interactions at first, like
He was good.
his acting, it was really good. Chris Pine nailed
Yes.
that, where he like
And the
introduced
song,
and
and
he's so excited and stuff.
Yeah, and the
So-
Christmas song too.
Oh my
that
God, that
beautiful,
was so
beautiful
funny.
Christmas song.
That's
That's
so,
so funny.
I'm glad there was
Beautiful
a
Christmas.
sort of full version at the end.
And then I would
Yes.
put Miguel O'Hara, because that excites me.
Yeah.
Mm.
Does Spider-Man 67 not count for
He's
you?
after Miguel O'Hara.
Okay.
What about okay?
I think that's everyone.
Zeus, your rankings of the heroes.
Oh boy, I really like Miles in this movie. I thought he was great. Then I'd have to go Spider-Ham because I love John Mulaney.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite comedians.
John Mulaney
Then
nailed it. Also, fun fact: if you didn't know about this, if you watch, I believe it's the Jimmy Fallon show with John Mulaney
Yeah.
on it. They have the rated R outtakes that he did because they didn't
Yes.
tell him what the movie was rated when they just told him to have fun with it. So he cursed a whole bunch, then asked, "Wait a minute, what's this movie rated?" And they're like, "PG," but we were just having fun listening to you. And
Yep,
he got to air those.
I saw that before I
great.
watched the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, me too.
no, I thought John Mulaney was really good. Then I'd have to go probably Spider-Gwen, I think. I'm not sure. This is where it gets kind of fuzzy for me.
Mhm.
It's either her or Peter B. Parker. Let's just call it a tie because I'm lazy.
If you had to
then-
pick one.
I would not allow this if this was NGT reviews, but I'll allow it.
Yay.
Oh, darn.
Then I'm going to go Penny Parker.
Really?
Yeah, because of the dead dad thing. I don't know. I thought
Jeez,
she was
okay.
interesting.
All of them have dead dads except Miles, pretty much.
Well,
Peter,
whatever.
what's his backstory?
not Gwen Stacy.
He was a radioactive spider bitten by a pig, or a spider bitten by a radioactive pig.
Did he lose anyone? That's my point I'm trying to make. Did he lose anyone?
They imply it later in the movie because they all say that they lost someone, including Spider Pig.
Yeah, but he's the only one that doesn't specifically mention anyone.
But he says that he gets it and that they do. So
Oh, yeah,
I
I
would assume
understand.
he
I
does.
His mom probably went to
Was
the
it a
slaughterhouse.
spider or a pig that he lost though?
That's very true. It's
spider.
only okay. Genuine comment. Why, if he was originally a spider, was his name Peter Porker?
It wasn't until he was bitten by the pig.
Oh.
Before that, he was, I don't know, Peter Parachnid.
Basically, there's no reason.
Yeah, it's dumb cartoon stuff.
Yeah, I was
That's
gonna
the
say
whole point
it's a
of it.
cartoon.
But like what I remember reading up on Spider-Ham, and didn't at one point it retcon that one point in time it said that it was actually a pig bitten by a radioactive spider after the original origin or something. Like
I
they
think
tried to retcon it during the run.
I think that was the original origin.
The spider, the pig being bitten by a spider.
I think that
No,
is the-
spider being bitten by a pig was the original origin.
I just remember reading on it, and at some point there were implications that it was the reverse.
I mean, at the same time in the movie, it's spider bitten by pig.
That's the origin that they're going with. So
Anyways, after that, Nicolas Cage, I liked him. He didn't have much character. He did the thing with the Rubik's Cube. That was fun.
that was funny.
Then
I just checked, and you are correct, Michael. They did later retcon it that he is a spider. I mean, a pig bitten by a spider instead.
Then
just
after
check.
that is I liked Chris Pine, then Miguel, then 67. Is that all of them?
I think. Yeah.
I think that's all the Spider-Man.
Miguel.
Miles, Peter, Gwen,
Which Peter?
Porker.
Peter B. Parker.
Peter B, then just normal Peter.
Peter Porker.
I kind of lump Noir, Peter Porker, and Penny all kind of equally.
I mean, that's
They all got the same amount of exposure, basically.
Right.
yeah.
And then 67 and
They were there to show the universe is more different than just here's a guy, here's a black guy, here's a girl, Spider-Man.
Yes.
Here's a black and white guy. Here's a girl, but she's anime. And look, it's a pig wearing the Spider-Man costume. Isn't that crazy? And it is, and it's great, and I love it.
Yes. Okay.
Did you rate?
And then I can only assume 2099 and then 67.
Yeah, I tried saying that and then got interrupted.
Sorry.
You're welcome.
No.
Michael, what are yours?
Miles. Peter B. Gwen. Then Blonde Parker. This just reminded me of another question. What's Peter Parker's normal middle name?
I don't think he has a middle name.
Does he have a standard middle name or no?
I don't think he has a middle name.
It's never mattered. I'm sure that he does.
It's Benjamin.
Peter Benjamin Parker.
Yeah.
Okay, well maybe he just doesn't go. He doesn't go by Peter Parker for other places.
So Peter B. Parker is more so the proper Peter Parker.
Yes. I mean, he already was because he was.
I mean, yeah, because he's not the.
Although he also isn't because he divorced Mary Jane. Well, got divorced by Mary Jane.
He's also been Spider-Man for 22 years.
Yes, but still getting divorced by Mary Jane isn't a constant thing.
Oh yeah, that I understood. So where was I? Blonde Parker, Spider-Ham, Penny Parker, Noir, 2099, 67.
Which fun fact, if you didn't know, Ben Reilly, whom I love dearly, he chose his name by doing Uncle Ben as his first name, so Ben, and then Riley was Aunt May's maiden name.
Oh.
That's where he came up with, because he made his own name.
He's the Scarlet Spider, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Who was the nod? He was the one that the original Peter Parker was a nod to with the blonde hair.
Gotcha.
So.
Nice.
Now villains.
Yes, villains.
Okay, so just to make sure I don't leave any out. Well, we don't leave any out. Just list all of them. Prowler,
Doc Ock, Kingpin,
Green Goblin,
Tombstone,
and Tombstone, who has to be last for everyone.
Scorpion.
Yeah, Scorpion. If Tombstone isn't last, you're wrong. Sorry. Not sorry.
Yeah, I'll go first because I'm going to lose internet in like 2 seconds.
Nice.
Kingpin. Kingpin, Doc Ock.
What?
Kingpin, then Doc Ock.
What? You're putting Prowler at third?
This would be the point where he reveals his third choice is Scorpion.
No, okay. I think he messed up because Prowler, since he's gone because of his internet, I will go. Prowler is definitively the first villain. I'm just saying the only alternate option is Kingpin, but it's definitely Prowler. But Prowler, Kingpin, Doc Ock, Scorpion, Green Goblin, Tombstone. Green Goblin and Scorpion are essentially interchangeable. Especially because it's a really weird take on Scorpion.
Yeah, it is a weird take. Okay. Let me think. Kingpin, Prowler, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Scorpion, Tombstone. I really like Kingpin.
Did you mention Green Goblin?
Yeah, he was right above Scorpion.
Okay, gotcha. Miguel, how would you rate the villains?
Prowler.
Thank you.
It was hard for me, but I
No, no,
really
no.
liked
Okay,
it.
I do. Kingpin is a worthy alternate, but like putting Doc Ock above Prowler, I'm sorry, but he's wrong. He's wrong.
Prowler, Kingpin, Doc Ock,
You
Green
have
Goblin, Scorpion,
Tombstone.
Doomsday.
And I think we're all forgetting the real villain here, the private education institution.
How did Gwen
I
sneak
forgot
in
the
there?
word institution for a second.
How did Gwen like get a locker and get classes and stuff?
We never saw her with a locker, to be fair.
I really thought in her flashback it showed her putting books in a locker.
Maybe.
I could be
I don't
wrong on that. I'm probably gonna see it again, so I'll let you know if she does. Cause now I'm just curious, but I feel like she did. Also, is it just on Miguel? You were showing off the 2-pack of Miles and Gwen. Does it call her Spider Ghost or Ghost Spider on that packaging?
No, it calls her Spider-Gwen.
Okay, interesting. I just know because
Didn't
she's been
she go by
marketing.
Spider? I thought she went by Spider-Woman in the movie.
She does, but
Yeah.
she's Spider Gwen.
Right.
Like in
Yeah.
her, that's like the same thing. Like you're calling Miles Miles and not Spider Man. Also,
So,
I think also Spider Man Noir isn't called Spider Man Noir. He's called Spider Man.
yeah, I got that.
Yeah, it's the same thing. But yeah, she's been marketed as Ghost Spider a lot recently, and I don't know where that's come from. It's interesting.
Because she looks like a ghost.
It's still just been like, where did the name come from? I don't know.
That's a good point.
It's just I don't have anything against it because it's a cool sounding name, but it's just always confused me like, where did that come from?
All right. Well, since we've briefly lost our showrunner, I'm just going to ask a question. What is Spider-Punk? Because I've seen like the Marvel Legends figure. I know it exists, but what's his thing?
In fiction, I'm trying to think. I mainly just know him as like alternate skins and stuff, and the fact that he's getting a Marvel Legends. I think he literally is just like a punk hero in a. I think he's literally just a punk hero in his stuff. Let me check.
Okay. Because
Yeah,
I
he's
saw
just
that.
he's just a rock hero. He is. What?
Is he in a band? If he's not in a band, I will be very
No,
upset.
he's leader of the Spider Army against President Osborn's regime. And his name is Hobart. Hobie. It's Hobie because it's Hobie Brown is his name. I believe he's also African American. He's the
then he's not a
the
Peter
anarchic
Parker.
Spider-Man. He's punk rock.
So-
No, he's not Peter Parker.
He's not a Peter Parker. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
What are the other Spider-Men?
There are literally hundreds.
I
So,
know. I'm just trying to run through the ones that I know off the top of my head. There's the Scarlet Spider.
Spider
There's
Carnage.
the Iron Spider. The Spider Carnage.
Do you know who Spider Carnage is?
It's Spider-Man, but he's Carnage.
Kind of. It's Spider. It's Ben Reilly whenever he was Spider-Man because he took over being Spider-Man from Peter Parker for a while. Peter Parker retired and had a baby with Mary Jane. Well, was going to have a baby with Mary Jane, and then because the comics writers are ruthless and needed to bring him back, she had a miscarriage. So that's how that story
Is this
went.
loss?
That's literally that's. They were just like, oh, we need him to come back. Oops.
Is that loss though?
Brutal. What?
Is it loss?
Is what loss?
Because the miscarriage. That's what Lost was about.
Lost?
Loss. The Control-Delete comic that became a meme. Loss.
Oh.
I did a bad joke,
I don't like
and you
you.
weren't there to insult me. So
I don't like you. No.
too
but it
late.
was,
You missed your opportunity. No,
when
you let that one slip.
When Ben Reilly was Spider-Man, which he had a different Spider-Man outfit for, and it's really cool.
It's the Scarlet Spider where he's got like the hoodie, right?
No, that's Scarlet Spider. When he was actually Spider-Man, he wore a Spider-Man suit. It's a different design. It's like still clearly Spider-Man, but type in Ben Reilly Spider-Man, you'll see it.
That's what I'm doing right now.
And then he literally had to carry the Carnage symbiote to like put it in jail. So he literally wore it and was able to barely control it. Most people would not be able to control it. he was able to barely keep it under control to basically take it to prison and drop it off.
That is a cool costume. And also, it kind of reminds me of the PS4 costume. Just, except the spider's not white.
I could see that.
Yeah. Then there was the time when he was one of the horsemen of the apocalypse. I know that's a thing.
Yeah, there's also there's a I think it's Spiders Man, which is a Spider-Man that is literally it's a Spider-Man suit filled with like 1 million actual little spiders that are unaware of the fact that they are not Peter Parker. They think they are a human named Peter Parker, and they are actually 1,000 spiders in a Spider-Man suit. I don't know how they keep that image up in their head whenever they take off the Spider-Man suit, but that's their deal.
So he's just Million Ants from Rick and Morty.
Yes, but he's not aware of it.
Oh, okay.
He literally thinks he's the human named Peter Parker. That's the weird thing about it.
Then there was the time Spider-Man grew more arms.
There's Zombie Spider-Man. Yes, the weird 6-armed Spider-Man because, 8 limbs.
Then there was when he was the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah, that one's weird.
Big time letdown.
Yes. There's the armored Spider-Man, which looks super cool.
Wait, is that not Iron Spider?
No, there's different armored Spider-Mans. There's a bunch of armored Spider-Mans in all fairness. I'm talking about the one that's like wearing silver. Here, I'll try to find it for you.
All right.
It's like silver armored spider.
This is a really weird segment where we're just talking about nothing, waiting for Michael to get back.
Yeah.
This is probably going to get cut.
Maybe, but I think we're entertaining. Plus, we're listening
I think so too, but I've been told on multiple occasions, you're not funny, get out of my house.
There's also Cyborg Spider-Man, who's getting released in DLC soon for PS4.
Neat.
I'm finally back.
Yay!
Okay, cool. We had a bit of a discussion about how many Spider-Men there were.
Yes, also we were talking about how you're definitively wrong about...
I was trying to rush my listing, and I just passed over all the important stuff with Prowler. You're absolutely right. Prowler, Kingpin, Doc Ock, Scorpion, Green Goblin, Tombstone.
I was going to say, yes, everyone put Tombstone last. Today is a victory. So Zeus is the only one who put Kingpin above Prowler. And again, I understand that one. I just would edge out Prowler barely, but I do understand Kingpin. I'm glad you've redeemed
I do want to say...
yeah, because I'm a big fan of the Daredevil Netflix series, and I really like Kingpin in that, and I think a lot of the good stuff from there kind of...
I was surprised at how well they did Kingpin. I wasn't even aware of the fact he was really going to be a presence in this movie, let alone...
Yeah, because he was kind of absent in the marketing, which I think is just something that we should congratulate Sony on, because Sony is known for spoiling their entire movies and their trailers, and I think we just have to commend them on finally getting it right.
Sony made the best Marvel movie of all time, and I think everyone's in shock about it.
Yeah.
Michael, what do you want to add? We've been going for a while.
Thing I really want to touch on that we never touched on. The specific comic book stylings, specifically when Miles first got his powers and woke up the next day.
Yeah, like how it literally does.
That was really cool.
That kind of stuff. Yeah, it looked awesome.
It was awesome, and it was a really good way of representing anxiety.
Oh yeah, that too. It did. I did feel very anxious watching that scene.
I felt very anxious, but it's
well done.
It's good to see that.
Yeah, it's good to see it accurately portrayed.
It's good to see it accurately portrayed. And I said something similar with it's good to see representation of anxieties. If you listen to my Ralph Breaks the Internet Rambles.
I heard that the moral of that movie was awful, just like the first movie.
The first movie?
Yeah, like the first movie was, the moral of the story was keep doing what you're doing even if you're unhappy and hate your life. was essentially the lesson they told you by the end.
Well, I mean,
and I think the second movie, because I didn't watch the second movie, I watched the first movie, but the lesson I heard from the second movie was essentially, do what makes you happy, even at the expense of others' happiness.
no, the moral of that one was if you love something, let it go, because he let it go.
Yeah. Though, you guys should listen to that one. That was a fun one because Alyssa and I went to that having had two completely separate mindsets about that movie, and
did you both like it, or did one of you like it, and one of you hate it?
One of us liked it, one of us hated it.
Was she the one that hated it? It was her. Yeah, I knew it.
It was a wild experience. It was the most surreal experience I've had in a movie theater.
I didn't watch the movie, and I'm A-okay with
that. You should listen to that episode because that was an interesting discussion. Anywho, I just wanted to point that out because if you have been listening to all of my stuff, well, first of all, thank you. Second of all,
promotion.
You might be noticing that there's something going on with me if I'm very interested in representation of this sort. I just want to say I'm still very glad to see this represented and discussed, or at least an opportunity to have discussion. Which I'm, again, just so gosh darn happy that it exists and it's there. And sorry.
Agreed.
Oh, can we talk about this?
Make Happy by Bo Burnham.
Yeah, I know. I need to figure out.
Can we talk about the scene that was in all the trailers and in the posters where he just jumps off the building?
Yes.
I loved that. That was great.
Oh, I know. That was one thing that it didn't even matter. It didn't matter at all that was in the trailer. Just because, it wasn't about literally
had chills during that.
Yeah,
scene.
It wasn't the watching it happen. It was just I feel it. Everyone felt it. That was in Infinity War when Thor shows up and everyone in the movie theater cheers. I don't know if people are actually cheering during Spider-Verse. I don't think people did in mine. But still, that is the type of feeling I think most people had. Was just
yes, was a moment where we mentioned earlier that the soundtrack was good. That was a moment where it was really well accented by the soundtrack.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was the song that Lil Wayne did with someone else. I don't know. I don't remember. Yeah. I'm just going based off of how far down in the track listing it is.
Another thing to discuss that we should just touch on really quickly at the very least, the Stan Lee cameo.
Oh no, that was so good.
It is not the first. Technically, it's not the first Stan Lee cameo since his passing.
Isn't it?
Ralph Breaks the Internet. There is a Stan Lee cameo, but he doesn't say anything.
That's right. We do just see him. I forgot about that because I forgot a lot of that movie because it was fine.
Yeah. Anywho,
it was good. I liked it.
Yeah, it was good. And
it felt very much like a. Yeah.
It made it more sad.
Yes, it was very sad.
But I know that's just still Stan Lee that recorded himself, right?
What?
It was still Stan Lee that said that, right?
Yeah.
They have a bunch of. They still have a bunch of his cameos recorded.
No, they don't. They have one more.
No, I thought they had 2 or 3 more. They have
one more. The last one is Avengers 4. No. I lied.
Marvel.
There's Captain Marvel. Yes, there's 2 more, not 1 more.
Well, I thought they'd also had some prepared a couple months back for other movies. I don't know if that's true.
They shot a bunch at once, but that was for I think Thor Ragnarok, of Infinity War, Captain Marvel, and Avengers 4.
So for all we know, there are a couple more, but
no, we know that Avengers 4 is the last.
Was that confirmed by the studio?
Confirmed.
Okay.
Some people are rumoring it's possible Spider-Man Far From Home, but it seems very unlikely. The studios basically said Avengers 4 is probably the last.
Well, there's also the thing where isn't it standard practice in the industry now to get scans of people's faces and stuff?
Yes, but Carrie Fisher, they might not want to do it.
Yeah.
And by might not, I mean for Marvel, I highly doubt they're going to resurrect Stan Lee anytime soon.
Yeah. No, I
It's-
don't think it's
this
going to
is also-
happen, but they do technically have the capability of making it happen.
You're not wrong, but yeah, this is still very much it's something that is very questioned in the industry at this time. I mean, I feel like, and I'm just going to spitball really quickly here, completely off tangent. For more animated projects, like say next Spider-Verse movie, they could put a Stan Lee cameo in and just have a voice actor do the Stan Lee voice. They could.
I doubt it. It's possible, but I doubt it still.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. If they were going to do it, that's probably the extent they do it to, or else it's visual, or maybe it'll just become like visual things, like how in Deadpool 2, it wasn't a physical Stan Lee cameo, it was just a visual Stan Lee cameo.
No, wait. Deadpool or Deadpool 2?
Deadpool 2. He does have a cameo in the trailer.
In the trailer?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then also in the Once Upon a Deadpool movie, which is the redone version of Deadpool 2. He that has his extended cameo, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Like, I think that even has an extended goodbye to Stan Lee.
I did not know that. I was not aware of.
That's only in theaters till Christmas Eve, so I'm going to go see that this weekend.
Oh.
Yeah.
I heard from a friend who works in a movie theater
Deadpool
that
2. The original Deadpool 2 still only.
No, correct.
Okay. I didn't remember that. I thought he had a speaking part in that.
No, they wanted to, but they didn't. I'm just saying that if there are Stan Lee cameos to continue, that's the most would be animated.
I think that could happen eventually, but I don't think that'll happen for another 10 years. If I had to take a guess, could be totally wrong on that. That's just my guess.
Could be. Anywho's, is there anything else to discuss about the Spider-Verse movie?
Did you guys talk about the soundtrack while I was gone?
Yes.
Yeah, it's so good. No, the movie just itself is so good. You need to see it. It needs sequels. It's gonna get sequels.
It better get sequels, or I will be a very unhappy boy.
Although I have to admit, the stakes are insanely high for the sequel.
Yeah.
Like they set a really high bar.
Sorry, I meant to ask this a lot earlier, and I believe I know I believe the answer is yes. I just want to double check. The Venom Strike, I believe it was called, and the invisibility are they standard power sets of Miles Morales Spider-Man?
I think I saw something that said they were.
Venom Strike definitely is. For some reason, I am blanking on his invisibility.
I was just curious because I didn't know of the Miles Morales Spider-Man. I didn't realize he had any different powers.
I know the Venom Strike definitely, but I'm so blanking on this. I think he can. Yeah, he could.
Okay. Just wanted to check. I figured yes. Just wanted to double check.
Okay. I'm trying to think if there's something we didn't cover. We talked about
and they kind of combine his Venom Blast and his Energy Burst, too, into one thing.
One thing I want to mention is that this was actually something that Phil Lord and Chris Miller worked on, who are the two guys that made the Lego movie. Then they also made the Jump Street movies and the TV show The Last Man on Earth, which was really good and got canceled in that wave where Fox canceled a bunch of their shows. And I'm still sad about that. But yeah, it's got the Lord Miller seal of quality.
Who voiced Miles Morales?
It was...
I knew his name a second ago, but I forgot. It was the kid, the guy who was in Dope.
I'm sorry if I butcher the pronunciation, but Shameik Moore?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's how you say it.
He did a really good job.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was in that movie Dope, I think. I think he was in that movie Dope. Okay, good.
He was much...
He is younger than me. but
Wait,
by
really?
a month. He was born May 4th, 1995.
No, wait. Then he's older than you.
No, I'm April 2nd.
Wait. Okay. Yeah, I'm
April
tired.
comes before May, Zeus.
It's okay. Sometimes I forget how months work.
Also, if you weren't aware, the star of the Bumblebee movie, Haley Steinfeld, is the one who voiced Spider-Gwen.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's a thing.
Which I gotta admit,
Nick-
I liked her way more as Charlie and Bumblebee than Spider-Gwen in the Spider-Verse movie. I guess I just like Spider-Gwen in general, so I felt like she was a little underwhelming in this movie to me, in terms of like I just and not in terms she was bad. Just I didn't think we got enough characterization from her. Like I think she could.
I can follow that. I can follow that.
Fair. That's fair.
But like you said, she deserves her own movie.
Yes, totally agree.
Can we just make a Spider-Verse cinematic universe now?
Yes.
I'd be very surprised if there wasn't.
Do it.
Just
Do it.
we have
Give us movie. Give us a Spider-Ham movie. I
have-
want to
have-
see
we
how
have-
they would handle that.
first we have the sequel, and then we have the first spin-off, which is the full-on origin story of Spider-Gwen.
Yeah, and then like at some point down the line, I want to see a Spider-Ham movie because I want to see how they would handle that. I think
I want a Prowler movie first.
but Prowler dead.
He was Prowler for a while.
Prowler
Also, multiple universes. Ha! He's
Yeah,
only
that's
dead
true.
in one universe.
fine. Okay, but
As
still
far as
though,
we know.
who here wouldn't want to see how they would handle a Spider-Ham movie?
Basically, just go watch John Mulaney's latest stand-up and imagine a pig.
So, are you saying that
Also-
we just need to animate Kid Gorgeous? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
And just
Okay. I'll get right on that. I'll learn how to draw.
I got it.
I'll figure out Blender.
I got it. So what Eric just said, but also have whatever wow, I'm blanking so hard. His boss, Peter Parker's boss at the photography.
Jonah
Yeah.
Jameson?
Yeah, except he is in the balcony being a Waldorf to Spider-Ham on the stage
But then who's Statler?
himself.
Just have Statler show up?
Yeah.
No, the thing I just remembered was that Kingpin was voiced by Liev Schreiber, the guy who played Sabretooth in the Bad Wolverine movie, and also Ray Donovan.
He was also in My Little Pony, the movie.
You say the Bad Wolverine movie, but you didn't specify which one.
The worst one.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
I was going to say there's been 3, one of which is amazing, one of which is like, eh,
It's fine.
and then Origins is bad.
Yeah. So that... I said Kingpin, right? I didn't accidentally say someone else's
You
name.
said Kingpin.
I said Kingpin.
Okay. Because I felt like that would have been the moment where I slipped up and said the Green Goblin. That feels like something I would do.
I'm slightly sad that Earth 67 Spider-Man wasn't voiced by Dan Gilvezan.
Who's
Which
that?
one's 67?
The original cartoon.
The post-credit scene.
Post
Got
credits.
it. Okay.
Who's that?
Bumblebee's voice actor and the voice actor for Spider-Man for that cartoon.
Oh.
I think it was that cartoon, right?
What other cartoon would it have been?
No, Gilvezan was in the 80s. He
Oh!
was Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Or at the very least, that's where I know him from. Or like the 80s Spider-Man cartoon. Oh, God.
Also, is that how you pronounce
You
his
still
last
there?
name? Because I've been saying Gilvez.
Gilvezan.
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
he was
how
in
I've
the
heard
80s
it.
show. I'm looking to see if he was in any of the other ones. I don't think he was in the 60s. But he was
I did get my shows confused.
He was in the classic cartoon A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, everyone's favorite Scooby-Doo. I say that because it's one of the less good ones.
Yeah.
I thought I heard someone knocking on my door. I was wrong.
No. So then, never mind about my comment about Dan Gilvezan.
Still would have been cool. It just wouldn't have been.
Would have been the right one. Would not have been the right one.
Yeah.
Anything else? Anything else about this film, guys?
Go see it.
Movie. But other than that, this is perfect.
Go see it. It's I can't think of like any problems I had with it. Which is weird because usually I can think of at least one thing that bothered me about any movie. Even like Isle of Dogs, which was my favorite movie of the year, I can still think of like a couple things I didn't love about it. But this was great.
Yeah. Again, literally the only thing I could potentially consider as something was what's up with the spider that bit Miles, but that's not important.
Well, I mean, like, it came from Alchemax, which is where they were working on the Collider.
Well, my question...
So it could have gotten weird there.
Well, Mike, were you here for me discussing it? I can't remember.
No, that might have been... I think that was when I was gone. What was your thing about it?
Well, the thing is, it has the same problems as the other Spider people do with the glitch in our universe.
Well, the way I see it
sense. That doesn't necessarily make sense if they haven't activated the Super Collider yet.
The way I see it is, it got shot back in time like how Gwen did.
But before it actually went off.
No.
Wait, what are you talking about?
The spider went back in time when they set off the Collider. There was a spider there. It went back in time, like how Gwen went back in time when she went through the Collider.
She did. She went back a week.
That was my thought.
Peter B. Parker went back in time like 2 days, or maybe 3 days, or something.
No.
No. I thought
Parker,
he said it was.
No. Peter B. Parker showed up the same day that he was the Miles as Peter Parker was dead because the first thing he saw was
he saw the screen. For some reason,
I forgot about Gwen being shot back a week.
Yeah, so I assume that's the same thing that happened with the spider.
Okay, then I have no problems then.
Yeah.
Okay. I just forgot. I will admit I do remember that line, but I was confused what they meant, but I didn't realize it was in this universe. Like in our universe. I thought like she fell a week behind from her universe.
No, she went back a week in time in our universe.
Because that's how she was already at the school.
Yeah, I was right. Okay. Right. That just kind of flew over my head. Thank you for clarifying that, guys. But yeah, I think we should wrap it up now. I think we've exhausted this, but
we've run out of words to say. But it's good.
It is very good. It is well deserving of your view. I definitely will attempt to go see that again.
I'll definitely be getting this one on Blu-ray.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
DVD for me. I don't own a Blu-ray player.
You really need an Xbox or PlayStation?
I only have a Switch.
That's why you need an Xbox or a PlayStation.
Get a PlayStation 4 and get Spider-Man PS4.
Also, shout out to Xbox for playing with my emotions and releasing the official YouTube channel of Xbox released a Halo 5 Halo 6 gameplay trailer, and it was a meme. It was Halo 1 Master Chief dancing to what's it called? Take On Me.
Oh, well,
and I was so angry. Even the thumbnail was actual picture of Master Chief from Halo 6. I'm like, I've waited 5 years for this game. This is what they're doing. But anyways.
Hey, look at it this way. At least it wasn't a Rick roll.
It basically was.
It was.
I know, but at least it
it was
wasn't a literal Rick roll, because that's a very dead meme.
It was a Rickroll and everything, but Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, incredible movie.
Go see it now.
Right now, thinking best movie of the year that I've seen.
Easily.
Yeah.
Probably. I still like Isle of Dogs a lot.
I haven't seen Isle of Dogs, so
Isle of Dogs is great. You should see it.
This is the best comic book movie ever made. Just put
I.
this there.
It is my favorite comic book movie as of right now. Yeah,
But not like only is it favorite, it is the best.
it is. It's the best.
it is a wonderful time. I cannot to see what comes from this.
Every element of this works really well, especially the animation. The animation was beautiful.
Yes. Oh yes.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
DuckTales.
We're not talking about that yet.
But you better have me on for that episode, because I am a big DuckTales boy.
We didn't talk. Did we? No. We haven't talked about season 1 yet.
Ooh, bring me on. I love that
Have
show.
You know what is the worst thing? I cannot remember what I've actually done on the Rambles.
I can check your channel right now. I can check for you. But yeah, if you haven't done a season 1 video yet, I'd like to be on that one. If not, I can wait until the season 2 ramble.
Yeah.
But definitely I want to be on one of them.
Yeah. Where's my playlists? I don't even remember who's been on my podcasts. I had forgotten Zeus and Noah were on the same podcast.
Yeah, and I had to remind you when I said I thought it would be fun if I ran into Noah at Disneyland.
Yeah.
You were very confused about how I knew Noah.
Yeah. Oh, we did talk about season 1. We did do the season 1.
Okay. Bring me on for season 2 though, because I love that show.
Okay.
With that out of the way, go see Spider-Verse.
Yes, go see Spider-Verse. It's definitely worth your time, with your money. But as for the people on this show, Eric, where can people find you?
You can find me a bunch of different places. At Eric Crowbar on Twitter, where I am all the time. At Aramis Prime on Instagram, if that's your thing. And on YouTube, just Eric Crownover.
Zeus, where can people find you?
You can find me at _Zeus on Twitter, Instagram. I almost said Facebook, but I don't have a Facebook, and YouTube. And that's the word _ spelled out.
Why don't you have a Facebook?
Well, I have a Facebook, I just don't use it.
It's not a pub.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's also not public. It's my personal Facebook.
Yeah. I see Miguel is muted. Are you there?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Miguel, where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter at Logos Minor.
And you know what? I'm used to now doing the outro for Nerdy Geek Talk and Steel City Bots that I have screwed up my own outro. Because normally I would say, well, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please like and share this video and subscribe to the channel. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at SoundJack426. But that doesn't mesh with what I just did with you guys, so I don't know. But anyway, so you can do all of that. You can also support me on Patreon. The link for that is in the description below. And thanks for tuning in. This is SoundJack, Eric, Zeus, and Miguel signing off.